indoor discussion. We'll try to provide some audio visual to go with the discussion, but we will do 3 other events that are actual demonstration burns, which can be sometimes a little distracting when we want to talk about what we're understanding, but is much more effective in really seeing it take place. How does it really work, and what do you really tangibly get out of it? So I hope to see you at least one of the 3, if not all 3 of the events. And if anybody who you know that would like to know about this information could not attend today, besides going to the YouTube link and watching the video, you can invite them to one of the other events, and we would love to repeat everything you're hearing today again in front of the kiln, but it's a different experience entirely having the kiln, an actual kiln in the background. So let's continue around the room.
Hi, I'm Sarah Hawk. I work at a public agency, but I'm not here representing them, but I want to learn if it is a practice that I can bring to our public lands here.
Thank you for coming.
Good morning, I'm Mark Hickford. I'm the district manager for the Dorado and the Georgetown 5 Resource Conservation Districts. And we process a lot of biomass, and sometimes it just exceeds the amount of volume that we want to leave on site, so we're looking at alternative ways of treating it.
Thank you.
I'm Courtney Jackson. I'm also with the Dorado and Georgetown 5 Resource Conservation Districts. So same.
Excellent.
I'm Candace Thomas. I'm with Dorado County Air Quality, and I was asked to come today to address whether or not this is a burn barrel. And so the Dorado County Air Quality Management District has made the finding that we do not consider this a burn barrel because it has an open bottom and because it's not being used for the purpose of disposal, but rather for creating biochar. And my air pollution control officer wanted me also to let you know that while El Dorado has made this finding, you are going to have to check with every air district that you go to because every air district could make a different finding.
Not every air district has met us yet.
Right.
Not every air district has yet learned the difference. And although she said it has an open bottom, what I want to make very clear that this difference is an open bottom on a burn barrel allows air to blow ash and embers out, and that's the risk and threat. Our open bottom has dirt dug around the edges so that no air can come in from below. Only air can come in from the top. If you have holes in the side of the barrel or the bottom of the barrel, that's a burn barrel because it's blowing oxygen in, hyperheating it to ash, and blowing embers out. And that's the risk and threat, and that is why we agree burn barrels should be illegal. And we appreciate your recognition that this is a flame cap kiln for the purpose of making biochar. You have more?
I do.
Please.
And burn barrels were banned especially because the culture of burn barrels was to burn garbage.
Burn garbage.
And-
Plastics and crap.
Right, and the other reason that they were banned is because they made enforcement of the banning of garbage difficult. We could not see from a distance. We had to come onto every property to verify what was being burned.
Oh.
And this is an entirely different purpose. They will require a permit from the district and a burn permit. So it's a different process, and we will know where they are, so it's a whole different process. We'll know you're not burning garbage because you will have a permit.
Thank you for coming.
We'll file all compliance. We don't want to make anybody angry.
Before we continue, let's keep this side finished. If you don't mind introducing yourself.
Oh, I'm David Zielinski, Fire Safe Council of
Thank you for coming.
Sorry.
Nobody noticed.
I'm Pam Harris. I'm a farm owner in Public Pines. We have about 100 acres of timber, and we have other farm products. So we have a lot of slash that we burn. And I really don't like burning, but I don't know what else to do with all that, so I'm looking for
I hope we
alternatives.
can change that.
Me too.
I'm Deborah Nichols. I'm here primarily as a master gardener at this point because I teach classes on sustainable gardening. So I don't know if this will apply on any level.
Absolutely. We work with Nevada County Master Gardeners. They have been trying to get us to do a officially sponsored Nevada or a Master Gardeners conversation, but we haven't yet because I'm not credentialed enough yet. So I'll work towards that. But we've been lecturing for Master Gardeners that have been grateful for this and helping us get more Master Gardeners that are unofficially learning. So thank you for coming.
Cindy Young, I'm also an El Dorado County Master Gardener, specializing in compost and worms. I'm in charge of the demonstration garden, Sherwood Demonstration Garden. Maybe you can stop by and look at it.
I would love to.
I'll be out there.
Great.
And I heard that microbes attached to the biochar. I want to see if that's true.
We will
Try
get
it,
you
got it.
that, we will bring this up for sure. Listen, when we come to our lectures and specialties, I'm gonna help you understand the carbon story and why biochar and how to make it. He's gonna help us enrich it to get it to your garden for its best benefits. So us together make a great team, and we will sometimes interrupt each other to help you not get lost on what either one of us is saying.
My name is Linda Blodgett. I'm just a resident, and I don't mean just a resident. I'm a resident.
You're a wonderful resident.
And I'm here out of curiosity.
Thank you for coming today. Let's do that.
I'm here to find out what's going on.
Great, thanks you for coming.
I'm Geraldine Mitchell, I'm bio-nutrient organic, and I wanna know what to do with all the char I got, so.
Oh, you have char, that's great to hear. Let's stay in the back. You?
I'm Becky Wolk. I'm from Amador County, Cedar Creek area, and just 10-acre landowner,
Wanna know.
livestock and garden and trees.
Great,
And rock.
great. You, sir?
Dave Nicholson, I'm here at personal interest in improving the soil.
Excellent, we want to help you.
Kit Beardcap. I'm a landscape architect, master gardener, and permaculture designer. And I am here specifically to hear about the research that supports the purported benefits of biochar.
Okay, all right. And just so you know, almost everything I'm going to share today, my sources are on the table. I am a glorified book reporter. I've pulled it together, I remember it, I've told this a number of times, and I'm here to answer questions. So I hope we can satisfy your interest and needs.
Pam Roberts. I am a resident of El Dorado County. Have a great big burn pile in my backyard.
We're ready to light.
Just wondering if there's anything better I can do with it.
Absolutely, thanks for coming before admission.
Carol Vittori, and I'm a resident here in Placerville. And have a little over an acre and want to improve the soil on it, and start gardening.
So glad to hear this.
Kyle, I'm Zachary Meyer. I'm from Stanford University's Dorr School. We're putting together a biochar as wildfire risk reduction policy program in California. So I'm here to meet the community and learn a bit more from the source.
Thank you for coming.
Happy to meet everybody.
Ma'am? Well, actually, you're coming in, we'll get you now.
Yeah.
We're just doing a round
How about
table.
it? Okay,
Who are you?
I'm Gosha.
And why are you
I
here?
got information because I'm master gardener, so I'm on the
We have
mailing
2 more
list.
master gardeners in the room. So
Oh yeah, there are more.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Sure. Here's one more.
Oh,
Also
enough, you're in the master gardeners
Yeah.
group. Thank you for coming.
I live in Shingle Springs, 5.5 acres. I also am interested in improving my soil, and I'm hoping there's gonna be, I looked into it, they're about $2,000 to buy, so I'm
That's
probably not
correct.
buying one, but if
We're
there
gonna
were,
help you not need to.
if there were one available.
You'll understand why we use them, but you
Yeah.
don't need them.
Okay.
John Rowe, Caltex Cattle Company. It's an organic beef operation, Garden Valley. We have a forest there, we have lots of slash.
And lots of livestock.
And livestock and manure and.
I'm so glad we got somebody in the room besides me
It's
with
a really rich
livestock. It's
environment.
really weird for a while. We're all gardeners. Oh, we got another livestock person. Great.
I'm Barbara Thompson, also with Caltex Cattle Company. We're very interested in regenerative ag, and we grow a lot of stuff besides our cattle.
Great. Wonderful. And so there's a few more here that I don't know, and there's some that we do know. We should still all introduce ourselves. Who else is here?
My name's Perry McLean, and I've been following biochar production for a few years now. Just here to gather some more information, following the commercial aspects of the product.
Great. Well, thank you for coming. And then here we have our sponsors. These are who brought us here. The reason I'm here today are these 3 people that I've been seeing on Zoom. Greg is actually here holding the camera. I met him at the Sacramento Biochar Conference, and he was so inspired by a 15-minute talk that I couldn't get enough out. He invited us here with the help of Norma and Cindy, and I thank you guys for inviting me and organizing this. I haven't caught who you are yet.
Yeah, I'm George Turnbull. I'm the District 2 Supervisor of El Dorado County. And we're working on, I'm on the Biomass Ad Hoc Committee with Lori Parlin. She can't be here today, or she would have been here. She's got a bunch of meetings.
Well, we have a
And we're
recording
looking,
she can watch.
we're looking to bring in biomass to our county, especially to get rid of a lot of this debris that we have, especially in our forests and for residents too.
And so I'm Norma Santiago. I am the co-lead in the Biomass Utilization Group
for the South Fork of the American River Collaborative. And I have some things for you guys, because you know that this is just the beginning, and we're going to have demonstrations over the next few weeks at various sites. So I've got some flyers here with the maps of where those demonstrations are going to be held for you to look at. Also, when you get a chance, if you could please sign in for the symposium. Oh, good. Oh, perfect. Well, that'll save that time. That's what happens when you get late. But in the meantime, if you already know that you want to attend one of the other demonstrations, I do have signups here for each of the demonstration sites. If you can just provide us your name, your email, your affiliation, and we'll make sure you get the information for that particular site. Okay? Thank you so much for coming. It's great to see that such a wonderful turnout.
Yeah, and she's a former District 5 supervisor.
Yes, that's just a little job I had.
Greg. And good morning, everybody. Greg Stanton, retired annuitant, worked for the county for 22 years and was asked to come back and facilitate biomass utilization projects. And thank you to the board members, supervisor, and Harlan on the ad hoc, and the full board as well for their support of what we're doing here today and other efforts that we undertake. Thank you, Cindy Chen, Dr. Cindy Chen, UC Ag and Natural Resources, for bringing the coffee and the water and everything else to keep everybody, lively and awake. And as a reminder, if you did not sign in and you want more information on an ongoing basis, please sign in before you leave. And lastly, if you have to use a restroom, it is straight down through here, this hall, you'll see the marked doors.
All right,
And
we'll give
and
the
does
cameraman.
and let me just make sure that no one objects to us filming this. Let's ask one more time, because others have come in. And I'm going to focus mostly on Tabor and Ken, but I just want to make sure you guys are all okay.
Make sure you get
Any objections?
Yeah, we got
to
Cindy.
recording?
Yeah, we got
On
it.
camera, no objections.
No.
And you are also welcome to take your own photos or audio recording if you choose.
Oh, I think Greg already introduced me mostly. I'm Cindy, and I'm actually the Woody Biomass and Forest Products Advisor with UC Cooperative Extension, or Agriculture and Natural Resource. A lot of you already know. So I'm based in Central Sierra, cover a lot of counties in Central Sierra and Central Valley as well. Mostly work on wood products, forest products, engineer wood products, including biomass products, bioenergy, biofuel, bio anything. That's wood-based, mostly wood-based, and sometimes ag-based as well. So thanks for being here. Like Norma mentioned, we have a series of demos after this event, so hopefully you can join at least one of them. Welcome.
We have another person coming in. We're just introducing ourselves if you want, and then you can find a seat.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Lindsay Nita. I work with Valley Vision on the California Jobs First program, working specifically for the working land sector.
Thank you for coming. And in case we introduced ourselves before the camera started, we're going to introduce ourselves again.
I'm Kenneth Shear. I'm the Executive Director of the Biochar Coalition. We formed in 2022, December 27th, but we've been doing this work since 2020. Our Vice President, Preston Eggman, had been doing this since 2018, a little bit before the campfire occurred, and the program kind of got sidelined. We picked it up, and we formed, and here we are.
And he's the survivor of the Fairgrounds
Yep,
fire.
our Vice President is a survivor of the Paradise campfire. So it's, we've risen from the ash, we'll say. And
Very intimate relationship.
Too much smoke being made with jackpot piles and sausage piles. And I came down, we're up in Warner Valley all day, the air is pretty clean. I come down to Chico, and I'm driving down the 36. I'm 32, and I'm just seeing smoke filling the valley. I'm seeing agricultural burns. You can see it's like pieces and pieces, and I'm just like, oh, I want to go back up to the mountains. But so that's why we come to the valleys and we come to the hills, because we want to incorporate better air quality for everyone doing this and create a good product. So that's why I'm here. That's my mission. Share that mission.
So I'm Tabor Tika. I'm the president of Biochar Coalition. Our nonprofit's purpose and mission is to educate and make awareness about what biochar is, how simple it is that any one of us can make it, and what we ourselves can do with it. Because if we don't know what it is, and we don't know how to make it, we're not going to make it, and we're not going to use it. But once we understand, you can't unlearn this information. application. It's so simple. And so we try to keep it very simple and user-friendly and human scale. We are very knowledgeable about the industry's larger models and larger options and power companies and industrial mechanisms. And we're happy to talk about it if that's of an interest of you. But we're really here on a human scale level. We're here for the gardener. We're here for the land with the fire fuels problem, the biomass, the cattle. This is wonderful. But what I want to do to start with is to try to help get, my favorite part is to get to the carbon story, to just talk about the carbon itself. And what we have is carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. That is our environmental challenge, that we cannot see it, you cannot smell it, it's invisible. But what it is 2 molecules of oxygen and 1 molecule of carbon floating in the air. The carbon is black and it hovers in the atmosphere and generates heat. Now methane is 4 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of carbon, also a black molecule. But the 4 hydrogen is so much lighter, it goes higher up than the carbon dioxide, which is why it's considered worse, because it gets higher up and makes it hotter. But it's not as stable, so it's short-lived. The hydrogen is going to break apart into 2 particles of hydrogen, 2 hydrogen, and the carbon is left free fall. But it's hot, and it's up in the upper atmosphere. And where does it fall? Into an oxygen-rich environment where it's still hot. It now becomes carbon dioxide. That makes methane a double whammy, because it's first up there, immediately higher pollution, and then falls down to the long-term pollution. Now, trying to get that carbon molecule out of the air is the challenge. The only way it really happens in nature is the way it meant to happen, through vegetative growth. The plant electrolytically shakes through photosynthesis, creates electricity, pulls carbon dioxide out of the air, shakes off that carbon molecule, and releases the 2 oxygen back into the air. Nature's been doing it forever. Way easier than the industrial plan that you see in a box out of the industry. But when you take the molecules and put them together of the methane and the carbon dioxide, and you rearrange it, what you have is 2 molecules of carbon and 2 molecules of water, H2O. So what we're trying to do is get this equation back to that. Clean water, clean carbon, instead of methane and carbon dioxide. Now, all plants are made, all life is made of carbon, including us. Now, I want to talk about the carbon life cycle. There's 50% of the plant's carbon intake, all of it coming from carbon dioxide. Half of that carbon in its living life cycle is released from its body into the roots in the soil and given as an exude, a sugar sap that leaves the root and is in exchange with the mycelium. Does anybody here not know what mycelium is? Okay, I have been known to over-glean that, and that will get lost, and I don't want you to. Mycelium simplified the root of a mushroom, okay? That root is to feed the fruiting body of a mushroom. A mushroom has no leaf. It generates no photosynthesis. It cannot absorb carbon from carbon dioxide in the air because it doesn't have the electrolytical behavior of photosynthesis. The only way carbon of mycelium can be acquired is through pulling it out of something decomposing or something living. So it's getting carbon from the soil and it's getting carbon from the plant. When the plant gives it carbon, the sugar syrup, the exude, it's now creating an electrical relationship with that mycelium, so the mycelium can feel the pull of what that plant wants. And what it wants is water and nutrients. What a plant does not want is mercury. So if mercury is in your water, the plant is going to suck it up. But if you have charcoal in the flow of the water, the mercury will stick to the charcoal, and the mycelium will not take it off of the charcoal to give it to the plant. But if it's in the water, it has no choice. But the charcoal is carbon. Biochar is charcoal. Not all charcoal is biochar. We'll get into that. I know it sounds simple but confusing. But I want to get to the carbon cycle. Oh yes, you want to, questions are welcome.
Yeah, I have a question. Why you are particularly talking about
carbon?
No.
I'm not even the mycelium. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm really bad at talking too fast. But I do want
No,
questions.
the other mineral you said,
Mercury.
Mercury. Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
chose mercury
Why
as an
did you say
example
about mercury,
because
not all the other pollutants?
a lot of them will stick to it. I use mercury because I came from Nevada County where we have a lot of mercury from mining, so I have an intimate relationship with mercury in our watershed
Okay,
as
so-
something with which we are
So
trying
this
to
is just
address.
an example there.
Just an
Other things
example.
there. Okay,
So
thank you. That
carbon
makes sense.
molecule is a negative magnetic polarity. Anything positive will stick to it. What doesn't stick to it is ash, potassium, phosphorus, and that's inside the charcoal until the charcoal burns completely and then becomes ash. But to get to the carbon cycle of the plant, half of the plant's carbon from its inhalation of life has been released to the soil through living life. So when we talk about conversion to biochar, we are now referring to the carcass of a dead plant, right? This plant, be it a tree, be it corn stalks, tomato stalks, the plant that we're now referring to is dead, its life cycle is over, its carbon release to the soil is no more happening, it's now a carcass of carbon. Half of that carcass plant is still carbon. Okay, so we're in a rough 50% carbon is what every plant is. Beyond the life cycle that it released carbon, it pulled out more carbon alive, but now that it's dead, it's 50% carbon. In that 50%, I'm going to divide it in half. There's two places carbon is found in all life. The cell structure, the cell walls. The cell walls are 95% is carbon held together by bonds of hydrogen. So hydrogen is gluing the carbon cells to make a cell wall. The cell is filled with syrup, sap, sugar, whatever word you want to use for the contents of the cell structure. In that sugar is carbon. That's the other half of the carbon, which is 25% of the plant. We're referring to carbon. Yes, there's nitrogen, sulfur, all these other nutrients that are in the plant, in the cells. But the carbon is what I want to talk about, because the sugar carbon we are emitting in flame. It is going into the atmosphere. We are letting the carbon in the sugar content go. We are emitting carbon dioxide. We are not denying this. It is an invisible emission, and we're doing it composting. We're doing it burning to ash. So we're doing it burning into char as well. What's different about burning to ash and burning to char is we still have the cell walls. The cell wall carbon is intact. It's intact in the shape it grew to. If it's a hard oak, it's a hard char. If it's a soft pine, it's a soft char. If it's a garden annual stalk, it'll crumble in your fingers. You'll need a mallet to crush an oak char. Any plant can become charcoal, but the quality of the plant determines the quality of the charcoal. A willow is very veinous, lots of tubes. It's meant to suck water out of the water and put it into the veins of the tree. That same tubular existence is in the charcoal particles that breaks down. It doesn't decompose, it breaks down into smaller particles. That's all it can do. When it's reached over 400 degrees in the state of pyrolysis, now pyrolysis is an oxygen-deprived cooking environment, flaming environment. Now, we do use a kiln, which increases that, but I want you guys to be able to make it today with your own biomass, light your pile if you want to. I want you to be able to do it without a kiln. But I want you to understand why we use the kiln, and we'll get to it in the course of our conversation. But essentially, when you're converting it to charcoal and crystallizing it, the potential available is 25%. That's it. You can never retain more than 25% of the plant available as charcoal. But 25% is just 1/4 the size. So when you take a volume of sticks and brambles that are filled with air and all that, you're gonna compress it to 20% its size. Now, if you use a kiln, you're gonna get 20% at average. We can tweak it up or down depending on the quality of the kiln operator. There have been studies that show the more experience you have, the better quality, the more productive. Now, the kiln is giving us 20% because it has heat shield walls. These, can you find a picture of the kiln? The heat shield walls radiate the heat back in, so now the fire is hotter. Now that it's hotter, it's cooking faster. Now that it's cooking faster, it's completed sooner. And so you end up having a safer burn environment. The air comes in from the side under a heat shield, preheats, and then comes over and feeds warm oxygen-rich air into the flame. But the flame consumes the oxygen. It cannot help it. It just becomes the flame. The flame, the bright white of the flame, what lights up the room from your candle, that's oxygen burning. That blue flame, the last blue embers of a campfire, that's hydrogen burning. That is the last gas release when making biochar, is the hydrogen's last bond to the carbon cell. And we're releasing hydrogen and oxygen and praying, as nature always would do, they'll recombine as water and come back down. And so the plants are sucking up hydrogen from the water, and they're taking in carbon from the air, they're making sugars and cells, and they're growing. And when we convert them to biochar, we are crystallizing them stable. They cannot decompose, they cannot evaporate. If a tree dies in the forest or is cut down and left lay, you, I hope, have walked in forests. You have seen a tree that's been laying there, you can kick it, it crumbles, it falls apart. Maybe you just see remnants of there was a log, but now there's like nothing left. That is a natural decomposition of a tree. It is carbon evaporating into the atmosphere. And it's not just carbon dioxide. That tree was filled with termites, filled with ants. And when termites are eating it and pooping and peeing, they're generating methane. So it is a farce to blame the cows. The cows are not our problem for methane. There is far more termites in the dead forests, farting and pooping and generating methane. But you can actually make them into char as well when you convert the wood that they're in. They too become carbonized charcoal.
And that's a whole nother alchemical and chemistry that we'll discuss.
Yeah, some of the best char is termite frass. And frass is the term for manure. This is how we met. He raises little bugs for frass. He raises manure with bugs. I raise livestock. I'm a shepherd. I raise sheep, cows, and camels. I have a diversity in what we can graze. I am keeping them because when you're done with the biochar production, I want you to understand, we have burned out all the nutrients of the cells. They're porous, they're hollow. All of the cells are designed by nature to hold water and nutrients. That's what they were designed. They evolved in creation of absorbing and holding water and nutrients. We have cooked out the water and nutrients and left a porous cavity capable of holding water and nutrients. So now when you incorporate that in your soil, you have substance there that holds water and nutrients right there in your soil. Now, a lot of people love to say, oh, I've always thrown ash in my garden. I always do it. Ash makes the garden do great. The problem I have with that, the ash leaves after one winter's rain, it's gone. It leaves your land, it goes down the watershed. Nothing in the watershed can stop ash solubly mixed with water. It's a lye solution. It ends up not helping anything downstream, all the way to the ocean. The ocean is salinating as a result of that as part. It's dying. The ocean is dying. If anyone doesn't know that, you can't see it, you can't hear it, you can't smell it, but it's dying. The atmosphere is so saturated in carbon dioxide, the ocean absorbs it from the air. But the ocean is liquid, carbon dioxide is a gas. The ocean is saturated. It cannot absorb any more carbon. We're left with it's now building up in the air. But if you want to help the ocean, I recommend with livestock and gardens, kelp. Support a kelp farmer. Kelp is the tree of the ocean. It is the carbon growing life body in the ocean. It grows faster than any tree on the land. By harvesting kelp, you're removing carbon from the ocean, making room in the ocean for more carbon and more kelp. So a good kelp farmer is not stripping it, they're profiting by keeping it productive. So supporting kelp is a way to bring nutrients and minerals to your body, to your livestock's body, to your compost in your soil, and then to your body.
And
so that's just the.
And I just want to cover, this is a test that we did on San Joaquin Valley. It was in Chowchilla. and we had ran analysis. This is a flame curtain to burn boss. I don't know if you've seen them, they're big green apparatuses, there's rectangular shape. We ran analysis to see what was left over in our biochar after we had done the process. This is what we saw. It's pretty much stripped of most materials. These are left base minerals, probably from the quench. When we added water, you can see that some of the biochar had retained some of those.
We have arsenic, chromium, cobalt, copper, lead, nickel, and zinc.
And this is an OH3. It's just a standard heavy metal test. You can go deeper. I have a better test where we covered all the heavy metals, but most of them, these are all.
And those are things
way
that
below
were
the
in the
thresholds.
wood that when we made, we didn't add that. That's just what's there, but it's trapped there. But if any of those minerals were needed by the plant, the mycelium, if it can get there, we'll give it to it. And so we're gonna get you to the point of how do you get that enriched? How do you get the mycelium involved? And a lot of that I came up with my knowledge through teaming with microbes. This guy has a great interest on nutrients. He never mentions biochar, he's missing out. But the biochar is a storage and holding capacity. So when it comes to compost is a decaying behavior, right? We're letting plants decay for a liable carbon. We need liable carbon, right? If I just put biochar in the soil, there's no nutrients, it's barren, it's porous, it's hollow, it holds water, but it has nothing in it. We've burned all that out. So if you put raw char in your garden, it's gonna compete with your plants. It's gonna win. It's gonna suck up nutrients and not let it go, and the plant's gonna suffer. This is why agrochar 20 years ago was a flailing industry, because they were selling to farmers a conviction, this biochar, this agrochar is gonna help you, but it was raw charcoal. And what it did is it didn't help them for 2 years, and that's enough bad media, they changed the name to biochar. And agrochar, the same farmers that did those studies, by the 3rd or 4th year, it's their best field ever. Because it took 3 or 4 years to naturally enrich. So the lesson there is you can do nothing, it will take care of itself in time. Now when you're gardening and you're composting, you're trying to expedite, we're trying to get to the richness, we're trying to get to good growth. But what happens is you don't compost in your house, right? Does anyone compost indoors in their house? Why do we not do that? It's emitting noxious gases, right? It's emitting things that we don't want to inhale that. Those are toxins, those are gases that are, they're pollutants, right? We don't want that in our house, but we want it in our garden soil. Well, biochar absorbs gases before liquids. So if you were to cover a compost pile of biochar, it would actually absorb the gases that are emitting, the methane emitting from your compost. It'll absorb, carbon sticks to carbon. We are talking about an amorphous, something that won't change, a fixed, I like ceramic crystallized carbon. That's what we're making. It doesn't change. But the decomposing carbon, that's liable carbon. It does change. It will evaporate. Hopefully it evaporates up the root of the plant into the fruity body that you're gonna eat. That's why we're putting it there. We want that carbon to be released into the plant, which is why it's recommended from all studies, going back to everything I know and why I'm here, this book. This is a book called Terra Preta. This is the richest soils in the world. This is an archaeology book. This is discovery, civilization 2,000 years ago in the Amazon rainforest is making charcoal, and they reverse engineered it. They made it in a pit in the ground. They dug a pit with a shovel 5 feet deep, but you can detect the charcoal 6 feet deep because the worms bring it down. It's moving. But this book inspired me. Well, why I can do this? We can make this charcoal. And I made it in a pit. And now a pit is just an earthen kiln. It has walls of earth that radiate the heat. Our kiln has steel radiating heat. But you don't need either of them. A pit's the easiest thing to do. You don't have to buy a kiln. You just dig a hole. You dig a hole. Now, I need to make a caveat. It's illegal in California to dig a hole to burn a pit. It's similar to the garbage. You can't just dig a pit and burn your trash. But it's also, here's the biggest thing you need to know if you choose to dig a pit and burn in it. Doing it at your own discretion. If you dug a hole and you found a tree root, fill it back in. The risk is if you ignite that root of a living tree even, it spreads underground. There's no way a firefighter can stop a fire spreading from underground. That is why it is absolutely illegal to be digging a big pit and putting it in the ground. But if you're aware of that, you can dig a modest pit in your garden, burn all of your garden scraps, and now it's a full pit of charcoal if you appropriately dug your size. But you can dig the charcoal out and use the pit again. I started this by going to neighbors and offering to dig them pits to help them burn the brush. And I was digging holes like mad until Ari dragged me to a workshop and I met Kelpie in this kiln. And I was like, wow, it's like a mobile pit. I can just move it. I don't have to dig again. And it's made a huge difference for me. In one kiln, we can get 3 cubic yards of biochar if we have enough biomass, which is basically 15 yards of biomass that I need to have to make that 3 yards. Oh, but now I want to get to some equation of what does that equal? The carbon of charcoal is 95%. It's only 95% carbon. So what is that other 5%? It's the ash mineral, right? If we allowed it to go to ash, you would see the ash. And if you ever touched ash, it's so fine, right? It's super fine. Why? Because it's individual particles of phosphorus and potassium throughout the cell structure. It's distributed throughout every cell in that plant. And it's now consolidating to a pile of ash in a burn pile. So that the 5% of charcoal is the ash mineral distributed inside the charcoal. It's right there in the soil. But it can't stick to the charcoal because it's a negative polarity as well. Which means it's just loosely, you can shake it out, not really because it's stuck in there, but when it's soaked with water, it'll merge with the water. The water and the ash creates a lye solution. That lye solution, if you've ever made soap, that lye solution mixed with any residual oil that may have been there from the burning or smoke or residue of the fire, the lye and the oil mix, and now you have soap. You're washing the charcoal. When you apply water and there's you're actually washing it. That's called activated carbon because you've cleaned it out of any residual oils. You've cleaned it out because the lye mixed with the oils, now it's soap, and how it's rinsed away. But the great news is the lye minerals, the ash, the potassium, those are still nutrients you want, right? People say, I love putting ash in my garden. It helps because it does for that short time that it's on your land. But in the charcoal, it's there, it stays there. It does absorb in the water, but what it also do, it sticks to nitrogen, it sticks to other elements. So it sticks to the syrup that's moving in. So it doesn't necessarily leave, it's available. It's not stuck to the carbon, but it could stick to the humic acids that come in. So how are we gonna get the mycelium into barren charcoal? We've had a university call Ken, they can't do it. They've been trying. How does he have pictures of, he had it up earlier, the pictures of mycelium blooms, these white clouds on top of black charcoal. How do you do that? The university wants to know. Because they're putting raw, empty charcoal next to mycelium. The mycelium sniffs it and there's nothing there. There's no food. There's no carbon that mycelium can use from charcoal because it's crystallized. But what you can do is you can fill it up with nutrients. So this is back to the teeming with microbes. The first step is nutrients. Nutrients is bacteria feeds on nutrients. What feeds on bacteria is mycelium. So if you can get a bacteria-rich nutrient into the charcoal, now the mycelium will go in. Once the mycelium's in, you have a vein, a fiber, a relationship between living plants and nutrients stored in there. The mycelium can also put nutrients in there, just to store it for later, because it felt it, find it, and the carbon's attracting a negative magnet, it just pulls it in. And so it becomes a battery bank of nutrients for the next cycle of living vegetation. Any nutrients the plant doesn't need stays in the charcoal.
And we found out, this has just all been mistakes and experimentating and going through the cycles of thinking, how does nature decompose things in the soil? And I discovered it's anaerobic. Soil is generally anaerobic until you get roots and water permeate. And you need oxygen spaces. This is where biochar offers us that space, because biochar also holds oxygen. So when you load biochar with bug-based nitrogens, because chitin is, I don't know if you got, does anybody know what chitin is? Okay,
We got a few.
chitin is hard shell insects, anything with an exoskeleton, arthropods, microarthropods. Those supply nutrients. They're the #1 soil driver for mycelium, because the chitin feeds the mycorrhizae zone, the rhizosphere. And when they're decomposing, it's releasing different derivatives of chitin, called chitinolsaccharides. and they're breaking down, and they're releasing the chitin. Chitin feeds on that to grow the hyphae. So the hyphae is like, ooh, there's my food. So it attaches itself to the carbon, and it starts blooming, and it starts feeding, and creating a whole intelligent network within that piece of charcoal. So we found that we could just take barrels, thousands of tons of this stuff, throw it into big 40-yard dumpsters, and throw this liquids in there, and it's totally charged up, and we just let it curate, and it starts doing its natural thing, growing mycelium, and then we can use this to enhance our rhizosome.
So if you were to distribute, this is a chunk. The mycelium is holding little pieces of char, it's holding it together. If you take that chunk, it'll break apart, it'll crumble. If you spread that out thin, the roots leave it. The mycelium leaves each piece, and they're gonna touch each other. And now they've created a larger network. So you've sped up the distribution of this. So he's gonna hyper pace you to high nutrient value. But he's doing it with bugs, which is why in 3 years you put it on the ground raw, that's what's doing it. Bugs, it's insects, that's what's doing it on 3 years on its own, right? And if you don't have bugs, you have another issue. If you don't have mycelium, you have an issue. If you have a neighbor that sprays Roundup, right, and you can't convince them not to, here's the solution. Go spread sugar on that land. Brown sugar attracts more things than white sugar. Sugar's just feeding the bacteria. When you get the bacteria there, the bacteria is now available for the mycelium to come.
And that's the base of this. We use molasses,
which is a sugar product or byproduct.
And we use a backstrap, organic from, what's the name of that company? Whatever, they're down south.
So I mentioned you can put it on top of the compost pile and it captures gas. But I also want you to hear you can put it under the compost pile because it catches anything that leaches through. When you water your compost, any water that goes through, it's taking nutrients with it. But the charcoal is a filter. Brita water filters, as everyone may know, those are just charcoal. It's just charcoal. We're making our own. We're filtering our water. So when you put it on the bottom of the compost pile, you're going to filter anything that goes through and you're going to capture it in that charcoal. Now the other reason, there's the third place to put it, in the middle. Whether you're lasagna layering building or you're a sprinkle as you add, every time you put a little food scrap, you sprinkle a little more char. You can, however you want to get it in there. You can go up to 50% raw charcoal into your compost mix. Ideally it's mixed and not just a thick layer of charcoal because you want it to become mixed. And the reason we want it mixed is because there's no nutrients in charcoal and we want to get it back in there. That's when it becomes biochar. When you're now getting biology back into the charcoal. So we're making biochar by definition without any biology because it's able to receive biology. Any burning experience, any fire, whether it's in a wood stove, in a camping circle, or in a kiln, if there is flame, if there is smoke, it is not biochar. If there is no smoke and there is no flame and it is a red hot coal and it's starting to go gray on the edges, if you apply water, immediately it goes black. It is handleable. It is not hot if it is black. It is hot if it is red. If it is steaming, it is still hot. Put a little more water. If it's going gray, you should add water because the gray is your ash formation. It should be black when brand new. We've been training people, they look at it, oh, it's white. It's actually the shiny reflection of the charcoal. So you need to learn to recognize the gray of ash versus the sheen of that's amazing what you just made. The sound of it's like porcelain. It's really beautiful to hear the sound of a freshly crisp pile of biochar production.
Like glassy, it should sound glassy because it's a crystal.
Right, and so any burning environment, you're just a little small burn pile, you're hanging out with your family, and you're gonna go to bed. A common practice is to let it sit and smolder, let it just sit as a bed of ash. We are advocating you to please quench it to black.
Okay, so
Question?
I heard, quenching, when we burn, I have my husband, we put on the sprayer and I put my EM in the sprayer and have that as essential microorganisms.
As a form of inoculating it immediately.
Right, yeah. Now, my thought was it's hot.
Correct, and we've run into this, and I've had one guy who does this extensively, and he says, yes, first impact, you've killed all those microbes. You've killed them. The heat is too much. But the next piece is alive.
Okay. So
And-
it's setting it up.
Yeah,
Right.
but what you would probably, I'd recommend is do a little plain water first to
Yeah.
lower the temperature and then add those.
But here's the thing, there's this pseudoscience right now that
Yeah.
hasn't been proved, but they call it thermal imprinting on your charcoal DNA when it does hit and dies.
Yeah.
It's actually conditioning that charcoal, that polarity,
Like
to receive
crystals,
more of
ceramics.
that specific microbe.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but I thought, okay, here's the perfect moment.
Yeah, this is,
Because-
anyone
Please
interrupt.
raise your
you want
hand
all
or
to do
interrupt
that.
at any time, because I don't want to just be on a monologue, but I want to keep you captivated and I want to make sure
We're having
you're
a conversation.
hearing things. It is meant to be a conversation, because, but I believe I know more than you, therefore I'm telling you until you guys have a question, because you want me to.
We don't know everything.
But we obviously know what these books have to say, and if you haven't read them yet, that's probably why you're here, because otherwise you would be like, I already know. But yeah, so where are we at in this story now?
And then we're quenching, yeah.
Yeah, so basically any fire you're having, quenching with water is preferred. You don't need a lot. It's a temperature thing. Over 350 degrees is when hot red carbon merges with oxygen and becomes carbon dioxide and leaves behind ash invisibly. No smoke, no fanfare. I have not quenched a pile and come back 3 days later and seen, like, you know, in a movie you see that chalk line of where the dead body was. It was a rectangle shape with a piece of wood that was incompletely burned, and it finished burning out the pile. All the char above it became ash. And I had a gray outline of the victim who did it. That log I left on the bottom of the pile wasn't done. It burned the whole pile straight up. But yeah, like, so if you don't have access to water at whatever site you're burning, dirt works. Just cover it with dirt. You have to smother it and lower the temperature. If you can get it to 300 degrees, it's safe. As long as those 300 degrees aren't next to something that it can ignite to get higher flame temperatures.
Like a hot rock or
So
something.
if a pile of charcoal radiates together, it sustains its heat. Ash is an insulator. That's why the next day you can dig through the ash and find an ember. The reason they ban burns 3 days before a known wind event is because I have seen it happen across the river from me. I have taken pictures of the red Bory plane trying to put the thing out. A wind blown, a planned burn 3 days after the man burned it, and the ember drifts to the neighbor's land that didn't do any land management, and now we have a blazing forest fire from an ember that all it needed was quenching. Quenching is the act of bringing the temperature down, putting it out, stopping it, just ceasing it from burning anymore. It won't make flame or smoke unless you try to quench it with leaves and paper, you know, then the paper is what's smoking, right? But if you're quenching it with dirt, you tamp on it. If by stepping on it, you're reducing the air. You know, these are the things that make fire work. Fuel, temperature, and oxygen. So when you cover with dirt and trample it, you're reducing the oxygen, you're reducing the air. You don't need the water if you don't have it. But if you have the water, just use it. It's so easy. And then it just quenches, and now it's activated, it's even more active. And then the enrichment comes up. What are we gonna do with this char we've made? Question.
If you had to guess how much water it takes to put out a whole kiln?
I had a 350-gallon tote, IBC tote. I have put 2 kilns out with that tote, gravity-fed hose, garden hose. Now I've had that same size volume with a motor-powered larger hose, and I couldn't complete the kiln because the water went too fast. So this is about learning the technique.
How much PSI we need to really.
If you put too much high stream into that pile, what comes out is a bellowing cloud of black smoke. If you rake a pile or kick it to try to knock it out, because one of the strategies is to spread it out so it can't radiate together. If you spread it out, the atmosphere will cool it, the night will cool it. And if it's not next to itself, it's not radiating. And so you can spread it out to cool it. But if you spread it too fast, you'll get this big black cloud, a solid black plume of dust coming out. That is the most dangerous part of the entire experience of having biochar or an involvement, whether you're making it or it's already made for you. If it is powderized and airborne, bad news. You inhale that, it sticks to you. It's a magnet, it's polarity, it just sticks to your lungs. That's how coal miners died of black lung disease. I don't want to scare you. I want you to be aware, because that's the only moment, is inhalation of it. So when we're raking out a pile and there's 4 of us and you see the cloud, you close your eyes and hold your breath for a second, and then we'll open it and walk away and try to get out from that plume while the hose guy is spraying you down trying to get the cloud, because the weight of water, the water touches it, the weight of it falls. It's airborne because it's hot and it's barren, but what it's not carbon dioxide. It's not carbon monoxide. It's just carbon. It's a singular molecule carbon floating, and there's enough of them that you can see it. What that means is, in a week, on its own, weather dependent, it's gonna land on the ground because of gravity. And within that week, if there's dew or mist, it'll probably land faster. If you're misting it with a hose, you can catch it right there and just watch it fall into the pile. So the key is, misting is better than fast stream. Slow is better than quick. If you start cooling the whole pile, it's insulated, but the oxygen is gonna have a hard time getting in. It has to go through the edges first. So then you start raking it where you're hosing it. Have one person hold the hose, one person rake where you're hosing, and you just try to avoid getting the black plumes, because that is the risk. You can wear a face mask. I love to just have a handkerchief ready to go, because I'm trying to protect myself. But what you're also trying to do is protect your neighbors. If you're burning close to your neighbors and that plume goes to them, it's going to them. Like, it stays in our living, breathing zone for a week. It never goes to high atmosphere. It stays in our living, breathing zone. So when you live out in the woods and it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal. The trees are gonna catch it, it's gonna fall. Just don't get it in your lungs. It will fall. But I want you, and if you're working around others and you see the plume, holler, tell them, get a step aside, don't breathe that. Just know what your risks are to be being safe about it.
And that's where it comes down to the training aspect. It's getting people aware of these dangers before we commit to any type of processes. Right before even the kiln opens up, I generally like to spray the top of the kiln with water. We have different techniques.
We're learning them and testing, we're trying, we're willing to take risks. The woman that designed the kiln said, just to burn things that are 2 to 3 inches at most, just the sticks. We've proved that you can burn anything. We have burned tree rounds this big as whole rounds and had successful complete combustion in the kiln because we learned how to feed it. I've also thrown rounds in that too early, and they were at the bottom buried by charcoal, and it would have been one of those death things later, would have killed my char. But we have learned, dig to the bottom of your pile, get to the clay, get the clay colder, because the clay is radiating heat longer than the charcoal is, it'll dry it out. So if you have a burn pile, that's where you burn every year, remove the charcoal entirely, because you'll reignite it. If you're just burning this random spot on the landscape because that's where the brush is, well, just leave it there, rake it out. If we could get this spread across our watershed, we're filtering our watershed. We're holding water on our landscape. It's not just for trees, grass, anything that grows needs water. Do you have a question? Oh, just okay. And so we want people making it on any scale. Now, I want to help you with the pile that already exists. Assuming it's a hand-built pile. You can do it with machine-built. I'm a hand guy. I prefer hand everything. But I want you to hear how to make a pile of char with just a pile of brush and not need a kiln. Because there is technique and method that can make a dramatic change. You're gonna get 10% char. We get 20% in the kiln. Right there, that's the sales pitch to me. I want the kiln, I want more charcoal. I love the charcoal, okay? But the kiln's $2,000. Is it really worth it? I don't know. I think that you should really look into your neighbors. You can get a Firewise grant and have the neighborhood purchase a kiln that you share, that you only need once a year. Do a couple burns on your land, go help your neighbor, go burn on their land, and you can share the investment of the kiln within the community. You could also rent a kiln from us. You could organize a workshop, and we'll just happen to show up with one.
So the top-down burn, we made a little.
Yeah, so here's a key thing. He made a nice pile. A neighbor of mine did this through oral description, and he did a great job. I asked him to take pictures, and they're beautiful. And he had this big tall pile, but the key here is ignite it at the top of the pile. Put your kindling up there, get your little twigs, get your leaves, get whatever, your paper, whatever you're starting it with, make it at the top. what happens is this radiates heat and starts burning more and more, and you'll see little embers fall. Now the video they took, his girlfriend is holding the camera, and the thing went into blaze, and she's like, oh my God, it's out of control. So I haven't posted that online because I feel like that's intimidating everybody. Because it was completely in control. She had just never seen such a blaze. This little fire at the top is gonna drop embers down. Those embers are gonna generate smoke, okay? But if it's a still day, that smoke is gonna rise up. And you know what it's gonna do when it rises up? It's gonna hit that flame. You know what flame is? The combustion of smoke. Smoke is pre-combustion of the nutrients inside the cells. Yeah, so it was hot enough that it's steaming out, right? So some of that white smoke is just water and hydrogen as steam. When it's yellow or green, now you're looking at your sulfurs. Those are what's coming out. So that smoke, this is steam, just to be clear, but the smoke that's at the bottom of that pile and embers at the bottom are rising straight up, which is why you put the flame at the top, because it consumes your smoke. Now you're not bellowing smoke to your neighbor. If you ignited this at the bottom, it would bellow smoke all the way through that pile, but not ignite it, because it's just not hot enough. It's only smoke. Flame will consume it. So when you have that flame on the top and it's dropping embers on the video, she's like, oh my God, there's embers falling to the bottom. Is that okay? I wasn't there, you know? I didn't give her instructions, I gave him instructions. And he just said, hold the camera. And she was really close to the microphone, so I'm not sure how to edit that video because the sound of the fire is amazing. But yeah, so the fire will settle down, the embers will ignite at the bottom. You'll have twigs. Next thing you know, this is complete combustion. That entire, that's where she's like, oh my God. She has never seen a flame that long. That just is just flying there. But here's where I want you to learn how to do things yet again a little different. Igniting at top, you're gonna reduce your smoke. A lot of biochar production is smoke mitigation. We don't want smoke, we want charcoal. We need flame to get a good charcoal. So when it gets to this stage or lower than that, the flame is almost at this stage, people are like, finally I can approach the fire. That was so hot, I was afraid I was gonna ignite the tree next door, which you can. You can ignite the tree. Now, I've been to a job site where I had to convince her, please, let me just show you. Let me do some kilns. When you walk across the landscape, you can see they couldn't handle the patient. Oh, no, you're doing, this is taking all day. I'm gonna burn 12 piles. I'll be way more productive than you. I fit 12 piles in my one kiln, and she likes 12 piles across her landscape. But what you look at the aftermath, a sphere of heat, or half sphere, because the earth absorbed. That half sphere of heat radiates out from those open piles. Every tree in the shape of that dome, every tree's leaf is dead. She has scarred the trees. Any log that was too dry ignited, and they're panicking, because the fire radiates in all directions. Again, this is where the kiln comes in handy. The kiln radiates it back in, increasing the rate of cooking. Because now it's got more heat and it's all focused, so there's nothing to cool it off. An open pile like this, you can see even on the edges, you're getting ash. You see the ash, it's gray. We're making ash. You're making ash means you're not making charcoal. That's why we're at 10% potential. Now, I want you to get to 12% because I've done it, okay? Here's how you can take a standard burn that gets maybe 10% and make it 12%. Is you're watching this fire and paying attention. Now, these actually turn out to be different fires here, but what I do is I use a pitchfork. And why a pitchfork and not a shovel? A shovel will pick up biochar, will pick up charcoal. A pitchfork cannot pick up charcoal, but it can pick up sticks. It can pick up logs. It can pick up incomplete burning pieces. Now, if you start watering and applying water like this guy is, and you start quenching it, you can't see it too much, but there's a white steam, and then there's these little hints of blue steam. If you really look at a fire, this is why I want you to come to our burn. I'll point it out. You'll see blue steam come out. Blue, if you remember, hydrogen. That blue steam, incomplete burn. There's still hydrogen in there.
Sulfur and oxygen.
Yeah, so you can, from a quenching kiln or quenching burn pile, you can spot the blue steam different than the white steam. Those are the ones that the pitchfork can pick up because they're still solid. You can poke it, they don't break apart. If you crack it open, there's still wood brown in the middle. I set those just to the side, just a few feet to the side. And they're gonna smoke because they're all out on their own now. You know, if you put on a pile of leaves, you're gonna spread a fire, right? You don't leave that. You pitchfork the next one and you add it to it. By you get 3 to 6 pieces, they together have radiated enough heat, you'll see that come back to combustion. So you went from this huge pile to now you have this little bitty pile to the side. By having the pile to the side, now you can quench everything else. So now you've got 10% char and you're 2% over there. Because while you're quenching this, that's still burning. And by the time you're done doing a good thorough quench, because you want no steam and no gray ash forming, or you're missing it. If you spent the time to make sure, and even if you're tilling it in so you're seeing brown dirt instead of black charcoal, you're tilling it in because like I'm leaving it on site. I don't want to, if it's on the surface, it attracts the sun generates heat. The heat dries it out. You're just warming it up, drying it out. It can't hold water if it's dry. So you want to get it into the clay. But I'm not a fan of tillage, so don't hear me telling you to go grab a tiller and till it in. But if someone's going to, I'm like, okay, well at least put char before you do it.
Just a scratch or like a surface tiny till?
Just get a little, and also wood chips. If you got the wood chips, you can mulch with wood chips. They're lighter in color than black. They provide liable carbon. Equal parts char, equal parts chip. Right on top.
And when that wood decomposes, it's going to release.
And the char will absorb the decomposing wood chip. So that's a viable strategy. But, so when you applied the water, you've removed those pieces, that little 2% pile is going to continue flaming, and if you're patient with yourself, let it burn until it's done, and then quench it out, and that's how I got a 12% pile versus my 10% pile. Otherwise, what people will do is be like, it's mostly done, and they're just going to quench it out, and then when you quench it out, you're going to have incomplete sticks that don't cause a problem. There's no harm to incomplete burn sticks. They're certainly low in volatility compared to the rest of the pile that you had, and you can leave them on the landscape as erosion management, but you can also just throw them into the next burn and complete the burn in the next pile. And what often people that have the landscape of they've already got 12 piles, what they tend to do is, well, I like this one, I like that one, I like that one, and then we're kind of done for the day. God, that was exhausting. Well, my strategy is, we'll light that one, it's in full combustion, sure, go light the next one, but then come back to that one and take your incomplete pieces, and use your incomplete pieces to go light your next one.
And we want to stress too that wood moisture content, when you're burning your wood,
makes a difference.
If it's over 20%, you're looking at serious issues, because when wood burns off, you'll see it steaming and bubbling on the top of a stick if it's vertical. If it's laying flat, those condensates are dangerous because they'll drip onto the charcoal that's already done, recombust, and then turn to trietary hydrocarbons. Those are called pods. You do not want those in your soil. They will break down over time if you have a strong microbiological base. Most of the time when we're making charcoal, it's in areas that have burn scars, and the microbiology isn't there. So when we are burning, we're making sure that our wood, if it is over 20%, we're stacking those pieces vertical, so the steam and the moisture rises up and then escapes and goes into the flame cap. And that's actually going to increase the efficiency of the burn because hydrogen burns. And you're going to get that excess hydrogen, it's going to get hotter. So just keep that in mind, that we don't want to burn anything under 20%. And that's exactly what they tell us when we file our burn permits.
But that doesn't mean you need to go buy a moisture meter. You can
use your lips.
Yeah, you can get a sense of moisture, and after a few fires, you'll probably figure it out if it doesn't light so well. Good question.
Yeah, okay, so moisture content, we had a pile ready to go, and it got wet because it rained.
It's not about the water rain, it's about the inner moisture.
It's the inner
It is about the inner moisture.
The wood that is sitting there.
It's like a piece of wood sitting in the snow all
That
season.
moisture will steam off when the fire gets going, especially a good blaze.
And that's what's great about the ring of fire kilns, or these apparatuses we use, is they will condense the heat and actually dry off the moisture before it even gets into anywhere near the coal bed. So when we have really heavy, like saturated wood pieces that were just kind of buried a little bit in the woods under other, duff and chips and things like that, we make sure we put these logs into the flame cap directly. So it'll heat it up, all the moisture's rising up, and then it breaks down and it splits in half because the stick is sticking apart. It goes right in, it's perfectly set up, and then boom, we're making really soft.
And the way we get the big logs done is we have filled the kiln with small, then medium, and the medium is so full and not ignited fully. Now I heap a monster on there because all of the heat rising from what's cooking below is pre-cooking the big one before it settles in, and now I can't lift it up anymore, but it eventually does get big. But what I want to not forget is when we go back to the last one, is when we get to that step, when we get to this step, this is where a lot of traditional burn practices go awry in making the potential for char, and where you will definitely go down from 10%. If you add more wood, do not add more wood once you ignite the pile. Take your incomplete sticks, ignite another pile, but don't take unburned sticks and add them to a pile in this state. The reason people do it is, it's cool enough they can approach it. They're like, well, I have all this biomass and I've already got a fire. I'm just gonna add to it. Well, let me describe what's happening when you do that. When you add to it, everything is cold. The wood you added is cold. The embers below have to heat it up. The heat is rising from the red coals. That heat is drying it out to the point where it's smoking. What, did I just say smoking? That's what's happening. We're bellowing smoke all day for our neighbors because we fed a cold stick to a cooling fire. So now there's not enough heat to get the flame fast enough that you're bellowing smoke. And now it's finally taking flame, but what are you doing? You're grabbing another bundle to throw it on top again to just smother it and make more smoke? I'm having a hard time with some of these old folks that are still doing this.
Can you add more wood at the step 4?
No.
Can you
No.
ever add more
The
wood?
only reason you would add more is these pieces here, they're half consumed, they're part of it. I'm gonna use my pitchfork and flip them in. If it's part of the pile, it can go in.
So
All right, if
once
you have
your
a
pile's
few
made,
small
you're
branches,
done.
if you have a few small branches, you can slip them in there. But they should be moving into your incomplete pile because you threw them in there.
Okay.
You could get away with it there. Limited amount, not your big stuff. Question?
You said you add huge rounds.
Right, that's the kiln.
Just the kiln.
The
Okay.
kiln. Now, if you want to do a pile burn, you would stack it accordingly. You'd put your biggest logs on a Lincoln log stack, your biggest ones on top, and then let the embers fall down, and then all the little stuff is engaging, and then that thing is settling in. Because it all settles down, it has to reduce its size to 20%, and it's going to lose all of its grip and strength because hydrogen was the glue, which is gone, so it's going to settle and crumble. Now, when we do a kiln burn, the reason I do this top-down burn description is that's what we do in the kiln. We fill it up with biomass, we light it on the top, we stand back, because it's a blaze of glory. It just looks like it's a jet engine on the ground and the earth is now moving because this torch is just pushing the earth. It's amazing. But what's happening is I'm waiting for it to settle down to the stage, to this stage, or even, yeah, pretty much. When it's in this stage, and it's just there's a few sticks in the bottom that are still flaming, but you see ash forming, we start throwing more sticks to the area that there isn't flame, where the ash is forming. And the new sticks are in the kiln, which is baking them, getting them to temperature. Now they're flaming. As soon as you see the flame combust on the stick, you see the ash below it stops forming immediately. Now you have a black or red hot charcoal just sitting below that flame because the flame is consuming the oxygen. So the advantage of the kiln is we get to feed the fire. With an above ground pile, I'm pleading with you. Do not add more if your interest, which is mine, to create more biochar. I would rather you make more piles. You can do all the piles in the same day if they're spaced out and you can walk to them. You carry your incompletes and use those as the ignition for the next one. And while the next one, the second one's going towards peak blaze and you know it's in a safe place, go finish quenching, go back and deal with where you've pulled those ones from. So now that's going into peak blaze while you're dealing with quenching. Now you're done quenching, that's simmering down, you take a few more incompletes, throw them on the next pile. You can have a whole day of burning, making char pile style.
And if you're in the agricultural sector, you know how big those piles can get. Huge. I mean, you guys, if you have those piles, just light it on the top, let it burn down, and then whatever's left, just quench it, and then save it for another burn later.
But if you did a mixed size pile, you went small stuff and big stuff, because you heard me say, oh, you get the big ones on top, no problem. Those big ones won't be done. So you're gonna lose all your small char if you're waiting for the big ones. So if you have a big one on a pile and you don't have a kiln, when the peak blaze is settled and you can see ashes forming, roll the big ones to the side. You got a bigger log for your bonus pile because you don't want to lose the good stuff on the bottom. And so I have had burn piles that I've moved it 4 times. Because I'm like, well, I go a little further and we'll just quench this spot. We'll go a little further, we'll quench this spot. And every time I move it, I'm hitting it with the shovel, I'm hitting it with the pitchfork to break off the char on the edges that's done to get the core more exposed to the heat. And now what we're doing with the rate of people, and we're working with teams now, we're training the Maidu tribe up in the Chester area. This is our biggest project yet. We have 15 natives that we are training on our kilns how to process the Dixie fire damage. There's forests of huge trees standing dead. Nobody knows what to do with. The landowner has been for years trying to find somebody to deal with it. It's always too expensive. They have to pay for shipping and the hauling and taking it somewhere, and nobody wants it. And so she didn't know what to do, and then somebody in her organization or their group, they came to one of our workshops. And they said, this is our solution, and these are the only guys that are talking about it. So they invited us, and we told them, listen, I don't want to process your land. You have 300 acres. I got a lot of things to do. There's a lot of communities I got to drive to. I want you to process your land. But let me show you how. Let's get some kilns. Let's get you guys some kilns. Let's teach you how to do it, and you guys can teach other people. And that's how we're going to grow this movement, is one burn pile at a time, whether or not you have a kiln. So I hope by now, I think I've conveyed, you can make it with a pile any size by lighting it at the top to reduce and mitigate your smoke, by not adding more wood in that pile and removing incomplete pieces so that you can start quenching the complete ones. And that's how you get maximum char with your existing piles and no money spent and no holes being dug, which can be exhausting. I've dug quite a few. But if you start using the pit, digging a hole, or you start using the kiln, you're gonna double your charcoal potential. You're gonna double the pace of how much you're gonna get burned in time, and probably you're gonna double the volume you're gonna get burned in the day as a result. Now, if your question.
If one were to say hypothetically have a hole, could then one add wood?
If you understand the first method where you had to get the pile completely burned down, right? So it's the point where I would say you're ready to quench it, right? The above ground pile, no kiln, I would say you're supposed to quench it or move the incompletes out. At that stage, you start adding. If you add too early, like any other burn pile, they just keep adding it. What you're gonna do, you're gonna bury it. The charcoal on the bottom will get buried by the charcoal on the top, and the charcoal on the bottom will be incomplete. Right. And it won't get air because it got buried by everything else. So the key for the kiln, and specifically the pit, because it's usually a cone shape, you want to make sure it's completely burned at the bottom before you start adding more. And then you start again with kindling, because you got to get your flame back because you've lost flame at the bottom. So you got to get your flame, build up the flame. And then once you build up the flame with a bunch of mid-sized small stuff, that's when we start going bigger. We got the bigger medium branches. Then I got this heap of medium branches that aren't burning yet because the little ones are flaming through them, is drying them out. Then when those big ones start settling in because the little ones are already crumbled, that's when I'm throwing the bigger and bigger logs. And what we're learning is, yes, I'm throwing in some huge rounds because I have them, but I mean, yeah, it's amazing some of the size I've thrown in there have been criticized, and then they were blown away when they see the char at the other end. It's amazing charcoal. If you don't know what to do with this, that's great for erosion management. Any ravine where water's going, rake it there. That's where erosion's happening. If you're not concerned about erosion, I recommend you read this book, and apparently it's a movie now called Dirt. This is another history book. This is an archaeologist. He's telling us where our soil went because he's going to the bottom of lake beds and valleys and doing soil samples, and they're detecting the pollen layer on the water to know what was growing in the valley. Like that kind of archaeology, and he knows where the erosion's going. When we erode our topsoil, we as a society cease to exist. When we have no topsoil, we have no food. When we have no food, we have no life. We are destroying our topsoil at the fastest rate ever. We evolved as a species, destroying the topsoil where we lived and migrating to somewhere else and doing it again. And not coming back to that site in such a long time that the soil's rich again. We have nowhere else to go. We've run out of places to hide. There's no more virgin soil.
And that's a great segue to what I had saw on Facebook. CAL FIRE This is their normal practice. They just go out there and just burn the crap.
Bellowing smoke, side burn. I mean, actually, that was pretty good. That one doesn't have a lot of smoke.
That's because it's not done yet. They're doing a prescribed burn here, so they want this whole ridge line to ignite. And here we are with our kilns showing them like, hey, let's save this carbon and burn around us. It doesn't make sense to not save this stuff because this is gonna help alleviate.
We're building soil with this carbon.
It's building soil.
We're making the topsoil that we're losing. We're making it barren in nutrient. It's sterile, right? That's where we got to enrich it. So the quickest way is pee. Just pee on it. Your pee is high nitrogen. That's a huge nutrient source. I've done it at workshops. It's ready. Who wants to pee on it? Nobody. Not in front of me. I don't think so, but we've been having conversations with the Board of Forestry to try to get them to incorporate biochar into their forest practices rule book.
Okay, Eric can see is a very good soil scientist.
Great, if we can reach out to them and get them.
Send them a link to this discussion. Let's get them in the conversation.
We'd love, anybody who wants to reach out to other beings that you're stimulated to.
Yeah, if you know who we need to talk to, help us get in touch with them.
And you work with hydrologists and find soil and hydrology together.
Absolutely. I don't have anyone specific.
Sierra Streams Institute.
Sierra Streams Institute.
Poyam Riles, he has definitely, I don't know if you guys know Poyam, but he's an engineer. He can punch in ponds in California, which is rare to find those engineers who are willing to go that far and get the credentials to
So you'll give us some business cards or something?
Yep. Biochar Coalition.
That's as good as it
That's
gets
our
right
website.
Give
This is
them
our
all.
logo. Biochar Coalition. So there's a U.S. Biochar Coalition. They're quite a bit different than us.
Send them the flyer with the demonstration dates coming up. Let them come to one of the demonstrations.
This is the flyer. We got 3 more events coming up every week for the next 3 weeks on Thursdays. I'll give you a copy.
From 10 to 12.
I've got these.
Oh,
I've sent these to Amador Eldorado Forest Forum, but I haven't filed the Forest Service till now. But I can't even get in the door right now.
Dave, you want some contact information?
Huh?
You want me to take you over there and introduce you to Dave for you?
Well, it's just with the government shutdown, it's hard to walk through.
Well, I know, exactly. One of the big issues I gotta bring up is there's, the Caldor fire burnt so hot. You're talking about 3 feet deep.
Burn scar.
And burn
They
scar.
killed everything.
They killed everything. And basically it's damaged the soil. And what we need to do is work on it with the Forest Service to bring that back because nothing grows.
You know what brings back microbes is livestock.
Yes.
Animals, wild.
Well, there is where it's at. Because we have an issue, especially when the Caldor fire went through there. My cousins, they had the Nielsen family were up there with all their cattle. They're not going to bring it back. They're not bringing the cattle back because it wiped out 60 miles of fencing. And that's where a lot of the problem is. And the thing we're working on right now is talking virtual fencing to be able to bring that back. So I'm working on that right now with the Forest Service and the USDA, because they're the ones that are going to be able to fund it because it's so expensive to get it started. It's not even feasible for them. So that's where a lot of it is right now. But talking, I'm working with the Forest Service right now. Forest Genetics is back now. Pacific Southwest Research Station, which was been dead since 95 or 96. Now they're going to do a plantation of trees. So a lot of good things are happening right now. They're starting to get it, is what they're.
That's what I'm talking about. So
This is why we created. Is also available on our website.
If you can't graze, you don't have animals. This is why we created this. This can make up to 2 million gallons worth of treatment for forest. We can be dropping this out of those air buses.
This is on our YouTube
on top
channel
of places
or
where we make biochar.
Instagram or YouTube.
Just drop it. Do a huge, just carpet bomb that.
So what we can do is
We're gonna have that killed.
we'll get. I'm going to get a hold of Dave and have him come to one of your guys' events when you can show what's going on, and we can explain that and see if we can work on that and get it back because
that's the most important. Once we make the char, because it's got a high pH. Biochar is heavily alkaline. It's got around 9, 10. I've seen the cogen plants make 11 or 12. So the charcoal we're making is around 9 to 10. So that's why we work with high acids. This is why we do anaerobics. Anaerobics increase the hydrogen in the liquids, and then everything's aqueous. So you just drop it, boom, because biochar is ready, so willing to receive moisture, that
Sucks
these
it right
nutrients,
up.
just like, and then it's conditioned. And then everything will work together, roots will grow, plants will grow, grass will grow, and they'll fix everything, hopefully within 6 months, so then we get grass next season, so we can graze. That's,
Okay, so the foliar sprays that they were putting like that orange.
the false check?
Oh, the false check, yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
false check.
So, and the things that are nasty, okay?
Yeah, real nasty.
Okay, so in my biochar, okay, done well, right, and adding some chitinase, like chitinase, okay, spray the trees for chitinase, anyway, so that, the biochar is the burning affecting the orange?
Is it affecting it?
Well, I mean, what is the effect? We've got
I
people
don't
spraying
like
their
that
trees.
stuff at all, but,
Okay.
and I do think, though I don't know exactly what's in there, I do think most of what's in there would be absorbed by the biochar as far as a watershed management to deal with the aftermath. Though he and I have been talking about trying to formulate, the reason they're using it is they don't have an alternative.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to argue with, we need every tool in the tool shed to try to solve our problem of fire.
Right.
We actually think that we can formulate an alternative. And as soon as we provide them a formula of an alternative, they're obligated to try it. And our formula theory
It's a sequel.
is the floured conditioned charcoal,
Okay.
enriched with mycelium. Now it's not so flammable because it's enriched with the cloud of mycelium. And if we liquefy that into a solution, why aren't we dumping biochar as a method for stopping fires, as an alternative to the red stuff that they're spraying?
Because this would break up into a powder.
But we have to make the formula, provide a product for them to have an alternative with which to use in trial and test.
So what they're doing, okay, what is it doing to the mycelium?
Well, the thing about
Did I just open a can?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't know.
you really
We
did.
just don't know. I
Because
don't trust
I've
it,
gotten a
but-
lot of flack from Cal Fire for talking about this, because honestly, I don't trust industry to deliver us a safe product over time, because they're not always looked at. They just deliver a product,
And they aren't
each batch
soil
isn't
people.
tested.
They're not soil people.
Yeah.
The people that are doing this they're not thinking about, we are looking at the forest as a massive soil bank, and that's our interest, is securing that and improving it.
So if we do add a char and we add these microbes after a false check
Yeah.
drop, we could mitigate what's happening to our estuaries, because they're seeing that there's
We could be-
Chinook salmon are being mutated and there's die-offs, and it's just,
We could
just
be
wanna help.
spraying this across the fire damaged landscapes that have no microbes and apply the microbes.
So the mycelium would come in, the mushrooms would come in.
Correct. Things would come back.
Maybe
Everything
get
would
some
start
remediation.
decomposing because the mushrooms and
Right.
mycelium.
So the other thing
Okay.
to know, so we have this above ground pile, and I described how you have this sphere of burn scar in trees.
Yeah.
The same is in the soil. That pile is a burn scar on the ground. It's burned all the grass away. When you look at some of our photos of kilns, you can see vegetation growing beside the kiln, green, alive, during the entire kiln operation of 5 or 6 hours of high temperature inside the kiln. The heat shields protect the tree, the bush outside. We've had sprouts grow through the charcoal the next year. So what's the truth is that there's a drawing of a match, and the highest temperature is like 1200 degrees at the top of that kiln. And at the bottom of that kiln is the same as the bottom of that match. It's like 400 degrees at the bottom, which is enough for carbon dioxide formation, but is not enough to cook the soil. So when we use the kiln, the charcoal is building up in volume. It's thicker and thicker, thicker, thicker. That thickness is insulating the ground from the 1200 degrees at top. We do not have a burn scar from a kiln use. You do have a burn scar from a pile burn because of the high heat. And the reason, if you add more wood, like I was saying, the wind is blowing from the side, cooling down the stuff below, but that wind is also heating up the charcoal so that it's radiating that heat constantly until it reaches ash. When we get it to charcoal, it stops the radiation. We're stopping it from heating up because we're not adding the oxygen. But I also wanted to mention, because it's come up a few times, biochar is available from other companies that are making it from a power generation byproduct, or there's a carbonator, this large industrial machine they drive in the forest with a tractor and they drop logs in it. These are making a product, they're being marketed as biochar. They are not the same quality product that we're making here at home. and they're giving it away. Why are they giving it away? Because nobody's gonna buy that. It's not that worthy. And I've actually looked at it. I've had people that were so excited they got it. I said, great, show it to me. It has wood chips in it. If it has wood chips in it, it's not even complete burn. We've seen the tests. It has toxins that are greater than the European Union would allow in any food field crop. And yet, in America, we're giving it away for free, and they're giving it to school gardens. That's what's happening right now. They're giving away charcoal or carbon product to school gardens. But I want you to hear this book is called Burn, Using Fire to Cool the Earth, written by the same author as who inspired me. She inspired me with this book. This book is an entrepreneur's wet dream. If you want something to do, you want a business to make with biochar, this book is every industry and how it can be benefited and impacted through biochar's incorporation into its industry. You can use a dry, very fine particled graphene is the single molecule of biochar, and they inject it into steel. If it has to be dry to go into steel, but if they inject carbon, biochar carbon into steel, the steel is stronger. It's lighter weight. These are variables. Concrete, this is the one I love. Why we're not doing this blows my mind. Here's 3 reasons why we should be mixing biochar in a fine consistency that's equivalent to sand into our concrete, because then you don't need sand. We are industrially stripping beaches off of the ocean with cargo ships and excavators to satisfy the concrete's satiated need to make more concrete. Sand is the #1 ingredient separate from water. Water and sand are the 2 largest ingredients in concrete. And so what we are realizing is that we can get charcoal into concrete. And here's why you want to do it. You don't need to be stripping beaches. You don't need sand at all. Now, if you don't need sand, if you compare a cup of sand and a cup of char, it's obvious. Charcoal is lightweight, sand is not. So now you're making concrete that's lighter weight because it's got the weight of charcoal instead of sand. Now, if you just throw dry char in there, it's gonna cake up because it's dry. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna pre-soak the charcoal so it's wet. Now
Somebody's making it already.
There are companies, less in our
Specific
country,
biochar?
but in European countries, in African countries, there are people that are doing experiments and doing buildings and doing projects. So
Norway's going hard on
this
it.
book came out, and I'm not the only one that read it. So, but what we learned is not only is the concrete lighter, just like they put the carbon in the steel, the carbon makes it stronger. So now you have a stronger concrete, but what makes it really strong is that because I said you soak it with water, and now you're mixing it in there, the water is inside the charcoal, and if you've ever made concrete, to cure concrete to be strongest, we keep adding water. We lay towels over it, we put tarps on it, we try to slow the evaporation of water because that water hardens it. If the water's embedded in it throughout, mixed with this char soaked in water, all throughout it, it's naturally homogenized, moist, and the water is evaporating into the cement that's connected to it. Now here's really my favorite reason why we should be mixing charcoal into concrete. Lightweight sounds good, strong sounds good, right? Isn't that enough? What more do we need? Heat tolerance. When your house burns down, your foundation is garbage. They can't use it because the sand, steam, there's water in concrete. Steam is escaping from heat. Steam has to find a way out. It hits a grain of sand, another steam molecule hits that steam molecule, they're hitting the same grain of sand. They need to go somewhere because there's more steam coming behind it because the fire is growing. Now the sand fissures create cracks. Now your concrete is crumbling because water is trying to escape as steam. Now, when you had that porous concrete full of water that evaporated into the cement, now your concrete's heating up, the moisture's going back into the charcoal. The charcoal means the cement doesn't have to crack, it doesn't have to crumble. That concrete has the potential to survive the fire, to be rebuilt on. You don't need to make a new foundation if it survived, because it didn't crack because the steam went into the charcoal, which was hollow and porous inside. That's the one that really sells it to me. Now, when we talk about these other qualities of charcoal, when you're talking about like the Tiger Cat char, the power generation char, what's different about them is that their temperatures are higher, twice or more than the temperatures we get, because we are aiming for fire fuels reduction as a primary interest. We need to reduce fire fuels. That's our #1 focus. If you need to heat your house, don't make char, make ash. I don't care. I'm not going to argue. You can make char in your wood stove. I got videos on our website. I'll even talk about it, but let's get to other things first.
He just had a comment on his link, but you had your LinkedIn page up there and you had the comment. from
Yes,
Sean Dawson.
this is industrial charcoal.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm curious about what he's saying and what you have to say about that.
So, okay, I made a
Yeah.
post, I was baiting the
He was
industry.
looking for someone to ask.
And, cause I had started a whole, war with Earth Foundries, because this is the charcoal they were giving out to the community in Nevada City that we've done like 10 years.
This is not white mycelium.
So this is, you'll see what Sean said, he's an engineer, he knows what he's looking at, he does this for a living.
Fused, melted. This is like ceramic. This is like the glaze. This is not receptive, porous, absorbent. This is what they're giving out as Tiger Cat commercial charcoal, biochar. This is what we're telling you, if it's free, be careful. Biochar we make isn't free, it's labor intensive. I just don't get paid, so it's kind of free.
Not yet, but you'll see here.
But you know, we're making your own, you're not paying yourself.
These are what is it?
Electron microscopes.
Thank you. Photos
Fused.
of charcoal burnt at different temperatures. And you'll see the ones that are nice, that got the structures. Well, this one's the nicest one. This is what they're showing. These two were good. But these were all fried above certain temperatures, and they melted the structure inside. Because biochar is, the term biochar is a porous amorphous material.
It's fragile.
At this point, it's just what we would like to call like fly ash at that point. And it's just carbon at that point. It's just
as easily.
filler.
It won't as easily get the goals and benefits that we here tout, that we here promote about agricultural benefits. Some of this char is more difficult to get there. Ken, of course, could probably do it with his enrichment, but this is where we think that the industry needs to be utilizing that char into concrete.
Concrete or asphalt.
Asphalt. Roads could be made out of asphalt, made out of biochar. I actually met the asphalt pavement industry rep, and he's going to look into it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm a slow thinker, you faster than me.
I know, it
We're
happens.
doing it for 5 years.
I'm well
Great
kept.
Basin Institute is running a Caldor forest restoration, but basically it's burn piles. And I think they've done their sequence, I think we've done everything. So you probably can't stop what's going on, but it would
But we
be
could
good if we-
incorporate quenching into what they're doing.
That sounds good.
And
Piles
we
are
can
being
work with
built.
what they're doing
So
to
Great Basin
improve the
Institute,
charcoal as a result.
multi-thousand acre Caldor fire restoration in the Grizzly Flat area. So if there's a way you could communicate with them on that, that would be great. Great Basin Institute. They're running the forest, basically the Forest Service is working for them at this point, and they're running the project. Great Basin Institute.
Great Basin Institute.
Typically, they're probably starting the fire from the bottom.
Very much so, which is why if we're pre-ignition, we have an opportunity to help them, even if it's not convincing them to bring a kiln
I
out.
think the piles are being built as we speak.
Okay, great.
It was at the Great Basin
Great Basin Institute.
Institute, okay. Yeah, we like to, if you guys know anybody who's already doing these things and you actually have contacts, just let them know, like, we'd love to talk to them, just spread
Yeah,
information.
we love talking about this. I'll repeat myself anything.
I don't know where my business cards are, I don't think we had any.
Oh my God.
I'll write it down.
You know what, I'll give you a card, you said.
There we
Give
go.
me your sticker,
We'll
I'll write it
follow.
down here.
Do
you guys come out and work with?
Good luck.
I'll put it on
We
the back.
train crews. That's what we do, demonstration trainings. We usually do kilns as our preference, but we do top-down burns. Like I'm trying to work with the Forest Service up in Lassen County, similar. They have burn piles ready to go. They have a low workforce to be able to do it. And I'm like, hey, I want to help. Let's help you like tune it into biochar.
Got a question. You guys working with Sierra Institute?
Sierra Institute, we've got an event developing. It's not committed exactly, but I believe on the 22nd in Nevada City. And we're going to try to do a flame cap kiln comparison, get other kiln designers and makers to come to the same site, have the same biomass available, and do a side-by-side whose kiln's really rocking it.
Yeah, right. Because we're trying to do work with them to be able to do something in El Dorado County.
Good idea.
Yay.
Yeah, well, this is our first time being in El Dorado County officially, and we're thankful for the participation to invite us and for you guys to actually show up. Are you guys enjoying this conversation? You all seem really attentive. And I'm appreciating the questions because I want to make sure we're going in the path of what you needed to learn. And the livestock, I don't think I've mentioned about them yet. So what do we do with this biochar, whether it's made in a pile or made in a kiln or bought from Tiger Cat? You put it in your chicken coop, you put it in your cow barn, in your sheep barn, if you have a barn. I don't have a barn, but I have a water trough, and they always come to it, they make a muck of it. You put it right where your muck is, you put it right where their poop is, you put it right where they pee all the time. If you layer it in the chicken coop, it is no longer gonna be a toxic environment to walk into. And if the chickens eat it, not a problem. If the sheep eat it, not a problem. If the cows eat it, not a problem. It's actually been proven to be beneficial. What was the question?
Pigs love it.
Pigs love it. Yeah, if they ingest it, it'll actually absorb toxins, it'll absorb pathogens, it'll improve their digestion. Now, I have some caveats. I have livestock. I know a lot of these studies and people like really promote it, but I'm an actual user. I do not feed my livestock biochar for the reason of their teeth. I've chewed on biochar. I recommend it at workshops. Try it, it's really kind of fun. He hates it, I love it, you know. They use charcoal to brush your teeth, just the actual charcoal to brush your teeth. The crunch of it is very interesting. I'm not recommending it. It's kind of like the scratching chalk on nails on a chalkboard kind of a feeling. But if you have a dog that just ate some marijuana or something else toxic, you give them charcoal, it absorbs it. The charcoal absorbs the toxin. Now your liver doesn't have to. Now you don't have to process it. It goes through the gut, no longer affecting you. If you have food poisoning, you can eat charcoal. I want you to hear, it is safe to ingest. It is not safe to inhale. Back to the cloud of black, right? Safe to ingest. Make sure if you ever do, consume plenty of water because it'll suck the water out of you. It's barren, right? It'll dehydrate you. But also, if you're taking any medications, do it at least 2 hours away from it because it'll absorb those too.
And I'd like to let you guys know, we know about activated charcoal and then regular charcoal, right? There's a distinction that you guys know, and you heard about that. Like activated carbon is in your Brita filters. We've been told by some people that we aren't making an activated carbon, and I had to go really deep dive into what it is that we're actually doing, the chemistry behind the quench. The quench is actually activating our carbon through steam and through the ash. The ash, when it gets wet, produces potassium hydroxide. Potassium hydroxide is what they use to make activated charcoal. Or they use electrolysis, sodium hydroxide. So when we're quenching and adding steam, we're going slow. This is why we like the slow quench, because you're slowly activating your carbon, so then it can receive this biology or filter, or if you take it internally, say you had, when I was young, I drank a whole thing of Tylenol, found it in, and my parents rushed me to the ER, and they pumped me with activated carbon. And then I was saved. So this material is the same quality. It will pull things out of you, and just keep that in mind because
So
it does
eat really
the
well
soil.
because it's going to suck some of your good nutrients that you just ate. So don't eat a lot of it.
Yeah.
You don't need a lot of it. I'm not trying to make your diet biochar. I'm trying to let you know it's that safe. It's that safe that you can ingest it. And so your chickens can ingest it, and your cows and all that it'll be less harm to the chickens. But the sheep and the cows, if you're giving them crumbles, chunks of char, and they're chewing it, it is going to wear down the teeth. And the teeth is what they're dependent on to chew the grass and brush. I don't want to wear that out. And I don't think there's been enough studies one way or the other to confirm that. I've talked to a farmer that said he noticed the difference. I believe him. I stopped feeding it or trying to. But what I found is when I make a pile of char, I have a video I haven't posted online yet. I'll try to soon. I have a pile of char. I put my electric wire for my cows. I forced them to go through it. They all stopped at the pile. They're like, what is this? Like, would I walk over it? And then the couple of them walk over, crunch, 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 and they're all like listening to this crunching, and the bull's like, oh. Next thing you know, he's like dancing and frolicking, and thinks it's the funniest thing. He like falls over, shoves his face in it, and then you look at the cow, and she's got like black nose, black knees, and she's licking her lips. And yeah, they kind of lick it to see what it is. They want to know what it is too. I've been to multiple workshops. We burn a pile, we all walk away. The dogs go check it out, the cats go check it out, the turkeys check it out, the geese land and check it out. Like, wildlife is like, what is this black circle? And after they get there and sniff it and check it out, you know what they do? They poop and pee. We made cardboard charcoal. We cook over fire, and we had a bunch of cardboard, so we made cardboard charcoal, roasted some bratwurst over burning cardboard in a little mini kiln. And when we're all done, we quench it, and we put this beautiful cardboard charcoal. Like, we don't need wood, this cardboard. It is cardboard consistency charcoal, super fine and soft. The cat loved it. The cat went straight to it, and we're like, is this kitty litter a product? Like, should we be doing this? How do I keep them from making black paw on white carpet? This is where Ken's gonna enrich it with mycelium, and we're gonna try that. We're gonna try to make household products that can utilize this charcoal we're making in the forest, knowing full well the bags of kitty litter is not gonna be near the volume of what charcoal we're making. But that bag will have a label, just like Dr. Bronner's, full of so much information about biochar and how to get involved and make it yourself and stop buying my product. You know?
So that what we're trying to say. Oh, go ahead.
Since I teach a soils class with our master gardener group here in this county, and one of the major papers I came across in doing my own research in terms of, because we have to, as master gardeners, we have to do research-based stuff. And I found a great paper on actually utilizing it in your compost piles. And that makes all the sense in the world, talking about mycelium and you mentioned these other things. Getting into your compost pile allows all of those organisms, the bacteria and everything else to start inhabiting. That's where they said the real positive bump comes from, is the fact that it harbors all these organisms that you want to get back into the soil.
We make a funny joke. We call it the Carbon Hotel.
Yeah.
And everyone's welcome in. We're creating space and homes for the smallest of life forms.
And which is why you hit on it right there. If we're just making biochar in the forest and raking it out, it's great for a watershed, it'll enrich itself. But if you're interested in the master gardeners, you're trying to get it in your soil, the best way is through your compost pile. Bottom, middle, or top, that's where you're enriching it. And you can go up to 50% if it's just raw char to raw compost. And then when you're adding it to your soil, your soil's not 50% char, it's just that layer of compost you add. But if you're doing that every year, it increases. So I think I mentioned that this book talked about South America's biochar was made in pits, man-made in the Amazon. The Amazon rainforest is 50% covered, 18 inches deep, with 50% biochar. Man-made, human cultured, still the richest soil in the world today, man cultured. Now, in Iowa, in the United States, richest soil in North America, not necessarily man intervened, nature made, 50% biochar, tested, that's what it is. It was made by grass. Grass grows on a hillscape, seed falls to the ground, straw stands there, lightning strikes, blaze of fire across the hillscapes. Grass grows a set space from each blade. They have a relationship to the next blade. They are too far apart as blades of grass to radiate enough heat to burn to ash. They cool in the air and fall as grass char to the ground. The seed is on the ground, heat rose, seed is fine. Seed is on the ground, seed is now covered in char, you have a black hillscape. Rains come, right? The charcoal holds the soil, it acts as an erosion management. Grass char is holding the water and soil right there. Now the grass seed sprouts over it. That's raw char on the surface, no nutrients at all. Grass grows over it. Isn't that great? It's no longer black hillside. It's no longer a hot black spot. It's now green. Well, what is green doing? It's attracting millions of bison. What are bison doing? They're eating it, and they're pooping and peeing all over grass char. And then they leave because there's nothing left to eat. What does the grass do? It comes back and makes seed so it can do it again next year. Millennia of that led to 18 inches of the richest soil in the world, and we have eroded it to 6 inches left.
And that's where
tillage.
Science is observation, right? We can all look at one thing and agree on what we're observing. We are observing that within these valleys and plains, that nature is doing this on its own. We don't need to intervene, but at this point, because we've suppressed over 100 years of fire in this state, we're seeing massive fires just blowing through and catastrophically burning everything into ash, nuking our forests. So nature, we can help. We have thumbs, we have wills, right? We have brains. We can observe what nature's doing and just speed it up. That's what we're here to do. We call ourselves Earth Stewards because we watch what the Earth is doing and we replicate it. This is why we created this, because this is just like nature's brew. Like if nature were to have a brain and legs, it would have made something like this. And I think that's what we are. We're products of our environment. So speeding up the process of regeneration is totally possible with making this carbon. And we can all do it.
Yeah, and so
Questions? I'll go first.
I saw a ton of questions, but
Great.
You mentioned that the quality of the plant will determine the quality of the char, so I was wondering like what makes a good plant, and do you know specifically like tree of heaven or black locust?
Absolutely.
anything will work, and the char won't be that dramatically different. It'll be texturally different.
However, hemp stalks have a very hexagonal structure. So when you burn certain materials at different structures, you get a different type of porosity, different types of electrical conductivities, and then the heats you're operating at. All these things can fine tune the quality of the biochar, but we always say, we advocate, just make it. Whatever it is,
whatever you have
cellulose
works.
or hemiocellulose, whatever you have, do it.
We do not
You both.
follow or prescribe what a lot of people are doing, which is getting hyper-focused on this variety of char and that variety of char. We are a mixed char family. We all char together.
Diversity.
But what I would say is, like, when I started this, I was making oak char. I thought oak hardwood, this is the best, right? And then I read about, 50% soil mix. And then I'm raising walnuts. I got into nut trees one year and I planted so many walnuts, pistachios, pecans, every nut I could. And then I did an experiment on my own. I had a bucket of charcoal and I peed in it, right? It was just oak charcoal. And then I had a hemp charcoal that was in water. It was soaked in water. It wasn't rinsed on the ground, so the ash didn't rinse away. It soaked in. So I had a high alkali, ash-rich solution of raw charcoal from hemp stalk. And then I had an oak char that I had urinated on in a bucket and let sit there to ferment. Now, I made a soil mix for my nuts. The book I read is you just need sand. For the first year, the nut has all the nutrients and the roots just need to stretch, so you want sand to get through. Well, I just read you don't need sand and concrete because you have charcoal. Why do I need sand in my soil? So I decided, well, I'm just gonna use charcoal. I'm gonna use 50% charcoal and 50% sand because I didn't know what I was gonna replace it with and I was afraid to just do 100% charcoal. What I learned is every single seedling that I put in the raw hemp char that had no enrichment, no nourishment, they all died. Every one of them died.
That's the first year I met him.
It was too alkali, too much ash. But every oak one I did that I peed in, it did great. They lived, they're still alive, even the ones I haven't transplanted yet. It's been 4 years in that poor bucket. But what I had to do to get the oak char in the consistency of sand, this is embarrassing. I won't sell these trees. I had sat there with the mortar and pestle, and I crushed the charcoal to a fine consistency, and I smelled my urine while I did it. I didn't know what I was getting into until I got into it. And then I was like, there's gotta be another way. And what I learned is, when I thought, this hemp char is the solution because you can crumble it in your fingers.
So
I don't need the mortar and pestle. Oak is hard wood, hard char. I needed a mortar and pestle to get that consistency. Hemp, it's such a fine flour when I finger crushed it. I thought it was my solution, but I didn't pee in that one. So that's where pee is good, right? But otherwise, composted it and enriched it somehow helped. But the hemp char is same as a blackberry vine. Blackberry vine is very similar. It's super soft and supple. If you can crush it in your finger, that's what you want to put in your hand soil, right? So that chunky hardwood, that's what I'm going to put in my erosion management. It's going to hold the clay. It's going to stop my erosion because I don't want to crush it in a mortar and pestle to get that hand texture. So the consistency of the wood can change the consistency of the outcome, but it's all carbon, and that's the benefit.
And that goes to how the heliocellulose and the lingocellulose are structured within that specific wood. Who had a question? Someone had a question?
Okay, so I noticed that your chitin is liquid, your jug.
Well, it almost
Ferment.
liquefies. Yeah, we ferment this with other bacteria like chitinase.
Fermentation's increasing your bacteria.
And
the more
hydrogen.
bacteria
Right.
you have, the quicker the mycelium is going to move
So
into it.
like extending your EM, I could do the same thing if I take my chitin at my frass and I add water to that? I
Add
mean, I
water.
know you take the frass and you soak it for 2 hours, and then you have that, and you can put that, I put that in my compost pile, or I
Yes.
put that on plants. So if I brewed up with my molasses?
Yep, so here's the process, I'll give you kind of like a rundown.
Okay,
The process that we go, so we produce the frass from the bugs, so we take the frass, then we take it into water, put it in barrels, and then we let that ferment on its own for like 2 or 3 days in at least 80 to 85 degrees. And then that brews, you get bubbles, you keep stirring it every day, and then bam, then I add my EM, I add my lactobacillus that I produce from paulownia trees.
yeah.
And then we also add a little bit of molasses just to bump it up, give it some more carbohydrates. Or we can add wheat germ, which has a lot of carbohydrates. We let that ferment again for like another 3 days. And then that's when we go, then we keep stirring, and then that's when we go to use it in our compost, to enrich our biochars, or we just foliar spray this in an orchard, or we go spray our charcoal piles. And this stuff is powerful. Like I said, this 5-gallon bucket can make 50,000 gallons of concentrate that then can get diluted 1/1000. So it's 5 million gallons of microbes. And it's so easy to do. A lot of the agricultural waste we have what we need, have the enzymes we need to break this
If
down.
you're interested in sheep enrichment,
There it is.
this book
That's the Bible.
is what made this man as crazy as he is about all of his nutrients.
And they didn't talk about bugs in there. I had to go through this whole different.
He's gone this another step. But this is an excellent, excellent book if you're interested in low-cost organic farming, how to make your own nutrient fertilities. The one thing that most plants that are covered in bugs are usually missing something that the plant is identifiable by the antenna of the insect. The most common thing that people add is nitrogen. The least common thing that people add is the one thing that is necessary to make a complete protein, which is if a complete protein exists for the cell, the plant is not attractive to a bug, and that's sulfur. And even people that are spreading powdered sulfur on the soil, it's not helping because it needs to be bioavailable. They actually have a method in that book or this book on how you can make it a bioavailable nutrient.
Yeah, Power's great. And I absolutely recommend Jadam and Matthew Power's book. This guy will blow your mind away. He's able to articulate it in photo realism.
It's a
exactly
great book.
what we
It's a
need to do.
textbook. This is what should be in schools.
Yeah, this should be kindergarten.
Took his course.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I highly recommend everybody support Matt Powers.
Yeah.
He's like the voice for this, because like while we're out in the field, he's out there with his microscope, and actually like he's not closed off to anything. Like it's all about anaerobics. I love anaerobic, and most people tell you anaerobics kill your soil, it makes redox. Like that's not true. It's not true because if you have the proper root zones, you have the proper moisture coming down, you're adding oxygen naturally. Plants and roots are what oxygenate your soil. And the insects, and the red wigglers, and the arthropods, and the protozoas, and the amoebas, everything works together to reduce that compaction that creates the anoxic conditions that kill your soil. So when you add these beneficial anaerobes, they'll work their way into those anoxic zones and start farting and gassing, producing yeast that then the streptomycetes can feed on, and then boom, you got your mycelial web, and your plants are talking all the way across. So maybe even the neighbors, if they're doing it too. So that's the goal, is to just know the whole structure so we're not like, oh, this is pseudo, these are hippies from the woods. No, we actually like, we go microscope, I know Pano's biomechanics, we've shared knowledge, they're like, wow, Ken, yeah, like, holy crap, because I've been using these liquids. I used to work at an industrial compost through doing this. We transformed his compost. It would take him a whole year, because he has piles that are like 8 feet tall, and you're not supposed to do that. So I'm like, okay, well, how do we solve his anaerobic issues? We produce beneficial anaerobes, and then bam, it started fixing it. His temperature started lowering, and it was just a better compost. So Randy McLaughlin, Durham Oil.
So, I know it's getting close.
Yeah,
Any more questions?
Are
Yeah.
you guys-
We're 5 minutes away
Can you just
from
describe what we're gonna do in the field?
We're gonna do a biochar kiln burn with whatever biomass is available on the site that they've organized. The organizers we've never been there, we've never seen the biomass, but we know we can make a fire, and we're gonna bring a kiln to do it in. So we're gonna bring a kiln to demonstrate making biochar in the process of using the kiln. I'm probably gonna repeat a lot of what you've heard for anybody that's new that doesn't know it, so we'll talk about top-down burns, how to not need the kiln, how to make your own with a shovel, and we're gonna make sure that you walk away from it. If you want, you can take biochar home. I mean, depending on the landowner whose it is. But we want you can taste it, try it, see what we're talking about, but you can really see the volume conversion at the kiln. And I just think it really is an impactful experience. I also want to give a plug for a little bit, this guy does not talk about biochar at all. And before I read biochar, I read his book, and he has fire in there. And his advocacy is don't burn. It's a small chapter, don't burn. It's the only thing I think he got wrong. This is an excellent book for dealing with landscape scale fertility development, especially if you're utilizing livestock. For those that are raising livestock, if you haven't read this book, you should really look into it, because this is the practice I use. He got the idea from an author, Andre Boisson, who wrote a book called Grass Productivity, where they prove that, and scientifically prove, concentrating animals and moving them every 2 days increases your fertility, because by putting them in a small place, they're defecating right there. So what we plan to do is on all these sites that we're making biochar, in a couple of years, grass is gonna grow over, we're gonna bring the livestock back to enrich it. The other thing I wanna plug, also not directly biochar, is the Eager book. This is a great one if you haven't read it. We're working in Warner Valley, where the whole valley bottom is covered with huge trees, thick trees, monstrous trees. We're working with the native tribes, and they're pointing out to us, none of those trees should be on the valley bottom, because the beavers would have flooded the valley bottom and killed the trees. The reason we're in a drought is we have no beavers. The beavers are what hold the water on our landscape. They used to be at the highest altitudes of our mountain and all down the whole watershed. They slow water. Beavers taught the salmon to jump. The salmon can jump over a beaver dam, the invasive fish cannot. We need to bring beavers back. But I can make biochar. I can't find a beaver. I can't convince a beaver to move in. But I want you to realize that if we really want to improve our ecosystem, we need to change our perspective of our relationship with it and being a part of it.
We have time for one more question.
And we can continue after talking if you want.
Yeah, we can hang out. Yes.
I suspect maybe, I don't know, one of my compost piles has jumping worms.
Really?
Jumping
Yeah.
worms?
That's what? They're invasive jumping worms.
So just cook
Get
them
some
up.
chickens.
Huh?
Yeah, chickens.
Well, I was gonna just take it all up with chicken pen. They say you can use heat, but I was wondering about the effects of maybe
Yeah, maybe there's a bacteria or something they won't like that can pour on them. That stuff is something you can look up to. Just give me the name of the worm and I'll find out.
Okay.
We love challenges.
Yeah.
All right, let's give a hand to the neighbor.
You can reach out to us. We have a phone number on our website. It calls his phone, but you can reach me too.
You can see our signs been through a few job sites.
Yeah.
So demonstrations, the next one Thursday at Pioneer Park. A week from Thursday, right over here at the Fairgrounds, behind the Henningsen Arena. And then finally, the week after that, Blodgett Forest up in North County.
Please come, bring others.
Bring others, yes. Spread the word.
If you haven't signed up for annual.
Make sure you sign on one of the sheets.
Sign up here.
Thank you, Dr. Chen, for sponsorship.
I just wanted to go just, right, just killing everything.
Because we do it in a lot of other counties, but, a lot of times we do it, they want to do it.